1987. In terms of tons, smooth cayennes is the most commonly exported pineapple worldwide. According to the report by Uganda Investment Authority, world production and consumption is about 13.5 million tons per year and is growing by over 200,000 metric tons annually. Globally, leading producers of pineapples are Thailand, Philippines, Brazil, China and India. President Museveni has called the youth to engage themselves in meaningful agriculture, and the overall objective of his intervention is to commercialize the pineapple sectors by supporting increased production through the distribution of quality clean pineapple seedlings that are tolerant to pests and diseases.
Now, Uganda is one of the top exporters of fresh fruits and vegetables in sub-Saharan Africa, and it's actually rated in the ratings. It's number 2 there. So it's still calling upon the youth to actually engage more favorably. That is the Ministry of Agriculture, to engage more favorably when it comes to production of meaningful agriculture, so as to boost the sector. Now, moving on, Kampala Capital City Authority is in need of 81 billion to finance traffic flow control master plan. Now, they say they will go a long way towards reducing traffic within the city, as traffic congestion is a major issue in cities around the world, particularly in developing countries, with potentially negative effects on outcomes ranging from economic activities to health. Take a look.
Traffic jams could be lowering the country's GDP to the tune of 55 to 163 billion shillings per year due to the lost productive time while stuck in traffic jams. To alleviate the traffic jam, a variety of mitigation strategies have been put on table, like improving quality of alternative routes to boost traffic management operations. However, such operations have always been affected by lack of enough resource envelope. Kampala Capital City Authority is also in need of over 81 billion to finance traffic flow control master plan. They say they will go a long way towards reducing traffic jam within the city. The master plan followed the signing of the grant agreement in February 2019 with Japan International Cooperation Agency worth $23 million, approximately 81.167 billion towards the improvement of traffic flow in the city. Empirical evidence on the costs of congestion in Kampala can directly support the KCCA in its decisions related to investments in the city's public transportation system.
And now, according to KCCA, the traffic congestion is actually causing a number of losses to the national GDP because of the time wastage that Ugandans do face in terms of traffic jam ahead of their daily duties, that is on a daily routine. So according to this, they need 81 billion Ugandan shillings to make sure they control in what they term as their traffic control project there, and we will await and assess that particular story more and more in more weeks to come. All right, now still moving on, despite the shocks and vulnerability, government will continue promoting industrialization and providing an opportunity for many Ugandans to earn a living at the various levels under industrialization's value chain. Now, this therefore has prompted local governments to offer land for free for development of industrial parks in Western Uganda. Petson Mumbere has more.
Despite the shocks and vulnerability, government is committed and willing to continue promoting industrialization and providing an opportunity for many Ugandans to earn a living from various levels under industrialization value chain. The local government of the districts of Kisoro, Kabale, Barara and Rukunjiri in southwestern Uganda have offered a free land to Uganda Investment Authority for establishment of industrial and business parks. Ugandan leaders say industrialization would translate into much needed jobs, especially for the young people, value addition to local raw materials, increased government revenues and sustainable economic development. Kisoro district alone has offered 620 acres of land on the border with the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The district handed over the land title to the Investment Minister Evelyn Aniti. Rukungiri is offering 100 acres, Kabare 40 acres, and Barara has offered 20 acres of land. Uganda Investment Authority, as government's primary investment promotion agency, has set out to develop an investment land bank that will be used to roll out establishment of industrial parks in all regions of Uganda. Bedson Mumbere, Smart 24 TV.
And still moving on with our local special reports on SMB, Bank of Uganda trade statistics indicated that Uganda had 1.1 billion US dollars trade deficit with Tanzania at the end of 2020-2021 financial year. Now, basing on the statistics, Uganda imported goods worth 1.24 billion US dollars from Tanzania in 2020-2021 financial year and exported goods worth 90.02 US dollars in regards to million, equivalating to 1.124 billion deficit in regards to US dollars. Let's take a look at this report.
Uganda had a $1.1 billion trade deficit with Tanzania at the end of 2020-2021 financial year, according to Bank of Uganda trade statistics. And it's the first time Uganda's trade deficit and import bill with a neighboring country exceeded $1 billion. Statistical reports further indicates that Uganda imported goods worth $1.24 billion from Tanzania in the 2020-2021 financial year and exported goods worth $90.02 million, equaling a $1.124 billion deficit, according to statistics. This huge import bill is more than double of $450 million that Uganda had with Tanzania in the 2019-2020 financial year. And the import bill is 40 times what was a decade ago when Uganda last had a trade surplus with Tanzania. Uganda, in the 2010-2011 financial year, exported $38 million and imported goods valued at $32 million.
Now let's head into the hopes for oil discovery in the country. According to the new report from the World Bank, the recent discovery of oil reserves can provide Uganda with the long-term positive impact onto the economy if handled strategically very well. Now, Betty Namubiru, who is the manager national content at the Petroleum Authority Uganda, says that it will be about the content at the petroleum employees will be employed directly in the sector, and that's about 14,000, while those indirectly that will be employed by the contractors are expected to be about 45,000. Take a look.
The discovery of 6.5 billion barrels of oil reserves in the Albertine region of Uganda present an opportunity for the country to generate government revenues for domestic investment and catalyze domestic private sector development. However, the oil reserves represent a temporary burn as revenues from oil reserves will be finite. But their impact on Ugandan economy and society, if deployed strategically, could be far more long-term, according to a new World Bank report. Betty Namubiru, the manager national content at the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, says Ugandans directly employed by the companies in the sector will be about 14,000, while those indirectly employed, all employed by contractors, are expected to number about 45,000. Another section of employment opportunities will be in the form of what is termed induced employment in economic activities that are targeted at serving or giving supplies to the oil companies, contractors and staff like food, medical and education. Naomi N. Mutumba for Smart 24.
Well, those are great hopes into the petroleum industry around there, but we'll still see contractors taking a bigger share with 45,000 against the 14,000 that will be directly employed around there. Now let's head into tourism sector. Did you know that Queen Elizabeth is undoubtedly the most visited and popular national park in Uganda? Very well, now it is found in the western part of Uganda, lying between the Great Lakes George and Albert, with the Kazinga Channel crossing through the 700 square mile area land. Now the park was named after the Queen of England in 1954 following her visit in the area.
The Queen Elizabeth National Park was founded in 1952 as Kazinga National Park by combining the Lake George and Lake Edward game reserves. It was renamed 2 years later to commemorate a visit by Queen Elizabeth II, and the last remaining communal grazing rights of the Songora herders were resigned. It's located in the western region of Uganda, about 400 kilometers away from Kampala. Queen Elizabeth National Park occupies an estimated 1,978 square kilometers. The park has got wildlife including buffaloes, hippos, Nile crocodiles, chimpanzees, and Uganda cobs, among others. The tree-climbing lions found in Asia sector of the park are always a great encounter. Queen Elizabeth National Park has got about 500 bird species, such as black-bellied bustard, flappy lark, white-tailed lark.
Very well, now with the ongoing concerns and discussions of Uganda hosting over 2,000 Afghanistan refugees in the country, let us see what the UN has got to say about this. Now, according to the UN Refugee Agency, Uganda is one of the most favorable environmentals in the world for refugees, and other countries like Kenya, Ethiopia are also hosts of refugees in the campus. But Uganda allows them to set up businesses, find employment, and move freely around the country. Uganda hosting Afghan refugees comes with economic benefits, such as it's expected to generate market for Uganda's products, as well as capable for the months. Now the UN, for the Minister for the Disaster and Preparedness, Hilary Onek, urged the UN to buy Ugandan food products for refugees than buying them abroad.
United Nations World Food Programme shows that the humanitarian aid distributed to refugees in Uganda has a multiplier effect which benefits the whole local economy. World Food Programme has been distributing cash among refugees in collaboration with the Ugandan government and the United Nations High Commission for Refugees since 2014. Cash-based transfers not only empower people by giving them the ability to decide for themselves what they eat, but boost their purchasing power. This improvement increases the strength of the refugees' contribution to the local economy. Uganda is home to close to 800,000 refugees, mostly from South Sudan, Burundi and the Democratic Republic of Congo. It also has one of the most favorable and progressive refugee assistance programs in the world, with freedom of movement, work rights and land officially set aside for refugees to farm. These policies potentially affect the welfare of refugees as well as the impacts of refugees on the host country population living around refugee settlements. Despite a huge refugee burden, Uganda maintains one of the most progressive refugee protection policies in the world. Its integrated refugee response has been named as a model implementation of the UN's framework. Refugees in Uganda are granted freedom of movement, the right to work and establish businesses, and the right to access public services such as education. Meanwhile, Uganda's approach was formalized in policy through the self-reliance strategy established with donor support in 1999. The right to work and to choose a place of residence was incorporated into law in the 2006 Refugee Act, and most recently, the Refugee and Host Population Empowerment Strategic Framework updated self-reliance strategy model in 2016, outlining a model to support resilience and self-reliance for both refugees and the host community.
Very well, and still on the refugees in the country here, let us now look at the statistics briefly on what the UNHCR, that is the Refugee Agency in Uganda, is highlighting to its recent reports. Now, by 2020 financial year end of results, 6,812 refugees in the settlement were accused of controversial therapy, whereas 3,999, those were the incidences of sexual and gender-based violence that were reported and also responded to, and 1,396 out of the 2,350 individuals were submitted for resettlement, and that is 90% of the refugees in Ugandan settlements. Now, 5.9 million tree seedlings were planted out of the National Forestry Authority, targeting millions that will be benefiting from these refugee settlements across the country, and also of the refugees asylum seekers in regards to 1,446,369 were able to access primary health care services. Now, of the targeted preventive reproductive health and HIV services were provided, that is out of the 1.4 million refugees, 100% ranked out of the 200% were actually provided with healthcare services. And also the 2021 planning figures, according to the UNHCR, the refugee agency, shows that 1.4 million refugees and asylum seekers will be receiving protection and assistance in the designated settlements in the country. And out of the 100 of these refugees, the concern will be provided with individual and protection documentation that will also be helping them in the country to access other services like the citizens. Now, very well, that brings us to the end of our local special reports around SMB. We do return. SMB continues with more analysis on Business Perspective. My name is Rita Kabanyoro.